Sick. All right, guys. Well, firstly, thanks for having me. Thank you, Sarah, for setting all this up too. Much appreciated because I'm sure it takes a bit of effort. But today, guys, I'm just going to give you like a quick little kind of just a bit of a discussion slash chat with you guys. Some questions that you do have just in regards to anything kind of tunnel or sky progression wise related. I did a thing in the ASM, in the most recent ASM, I think it was, on tunnel to sky differences. So if you haven't read that one, I'll quickly just run through that now. And what it does is like looking at the people that are on this, a lot of yous have flown quite a bit of tunnel and have quite a few skydives as well, like for the people I can see on their videos. So I'll just kind of run you through kind of a bit of that stuff, and then I'll open it up to some questions and stuff also. And any kind of questions or feedback, please don't feel shy, because I'll happily answer anything you want. And I've also got a heap of questions here off Sarah as well, just to kind of keep the ball rolling with that as well. So the first one I'll run through, I've got it just written here on my phone. So is there anyone on here that hasn't flown tunnel? Nope. Everyone's flown tunnel? Can everyone hear me?
I haven't. I'm a wing.
Have you never flown the tunnel before?
Well, like a minute, maybe 2 minutes. The time that I went up to Gold Coast.
Oh, good. That's cool.
Nothing.
What about the wingsuit tunnel? You haven't been there yet?
Nah, not yet. Because they could only put in baby little wingsuits, and yeah, no, they've changed it, but I haven't been over to Europe. Lockdown.
Fair enough. So people say like, can you do too much tunnel? What is like a good mix? Is a question I generally get asked like a lot. So there is no like right or wrong to this. I just think whatever, like, because we all started, most of you guys, like, we're all actually skydivers. So most of you guys usually started skydiving first, like myself. I think I was skydiving for a few years before I actually found out what a tunnel was. But I always try and say, continue your, continue with the amount of jumps you've got like per year. So if you're there on your average, you're jumping, say 200 times a year or 100 times a year or something like that. Through your pathway of progression, I think it's like a good rule of thumb to whatever you're roughly doing a year, try and keep roughly doing that. So for example, if you're doing 100 jumps a year and you're thinking about banging out some tunnel time to progress your skydiving or your tunnel flying as well, like try not to, it's okay to kind of like sacrifice some jumps to do some tunnel if you really want to. Also really depends on how much money you've got to throw around. But we all started skydiving, and I think we should all continue to skydive. Through my career, I've seen a few people really slow down on their skydiving to the point where they're selling their gear for like when sales come up on like these bulk packages and stuff. And a lot of people usually don't rebuy gear again. They just stick in the tunnel, which if you want to do that, cool. But I feel like we're all kind of passionate about the skydiving. And so, yeah, if you can keep that number like of 100 jumps to 150 jumps a year, like whatever your situation is, try and keep it that no matter how much tunnel time you got to progress, okay? Because there's not many people that go to the tunnel to, at the end of the day, not put it in the sky. So just remember, you've got to keep jumping after you do all this kind of tunnel stuff. So try and keep that one in mind. Don't get sucked into the tunnel kind of progression too much and miss out on all the cool skydives, because that's where the real fun's at. Tunnel is still awesome fun, especially for you, Jace, if you haven't done much. It does get really fun. It's definitely like, for the people that have done quite a bit of it, it is definitely a love-hate relationship. People are usually really happy one day and then the next day not so happy, unless you're Sarah. She's just happy every second in there. But it does go up and down for a lot of people. But yeah, keep it with a healthy, good mix. Other differences that you might not be aware of when you're doing tunnel to skydiving stuff is rotation lengths and freefall speeds. So, for example, when I do my tunnel camps, the rotation length for Jace, that's a rotation length is if you're going to book a 15-minute session to go fly at say 4 o'clock, in that 15 minutes, you would do 5 rotations of 3 minutes and you would rotate with someone else. So John would go in for 3 minutes and Sam would go in for 3 minutes, like, and rotate like that. What people usually don't remember, or people aren't used to, is when you're skydiving, it's generally a minute, depending on what you're doing. If it's belly stuff, if it's free flying stuff, it's usually about like 45 seconds. Wingsuiting, obviously, it's a lot more. But when you start doing like when you start heading to the tunnel, your free fall lengths that your body's going to start getting used to is 3 minutes. And what people don't realize is when they, let's say they've got no real free fly skill at all, which was what a lot of people usually are around when they come to us. They'll come and start getting into this 3 minute rotation kind of setup, and then they'll go back skydiving, and then their skill level is improved quite drastically. And when they were jumping before the tunnel, they were just doing like belly jumps. So the jumps were going for say 60 seconds. And then they are shredding down the tunnel. They go to a jump and the jumps are going for like 30 seconds now. And a lot of people really don't really remember that kind of stuff. That shit will keep you alive for sure. But that's one that a lot of people usually kind of forget. The best way to remember that one is when you're going skydiving, remind yourself that you are jumping. You're not in the tunnel. A lot of people get picked out by it. I fucked up myself. I think I've actually got the video. So check this out. This is when I was working in a tunnel for about a year. I didn't have, I think I had about 900 jumps at the time. But I just did, like when I got a tunnel job, as you're probably aware, tunnel instructors make no money, especially at the start of their career. And I just did too much tunnel and not enough skydiving, and I really fucked up. I've got a video here, so I'll just share my screen thing right now. Desktop. Learning videos. Stupid. No. Roll over. Low. Cool. So this video here, as you can see, it's kind of cloudy. You can see it already just with us sitting in the plane there. We were jumping for a couple of days, and on this day, when we took off, the cloud base that was at 5,000 feet for the whole couple of days we were jumping, it dropped to 2,000 feet. So as we took off, I was like, oh yeah, it's 2,000 feet. I'll remember that. And during that, during the days before leading up to that, I was actually using the cloud base as like a break off reminder to be like, cool, just pin it to the clouds and then we break off. And what we did here, we just did a jump with a couple of the boys. The jump was pretty shit, but basically what happens is I'm on a quick angle with a couple of tunnel guys, and oh geez, that's loud. I'll just turn that off. So we're pinning it right now. My LT at the time said, as I went into the cloud here, I was going at about 400 Ks, and right now it's 2,000 feet. So this isn't good. And then we kind of come through the cloud here, and as you can tell, this is over Maruya. We're very low, so I've just pitched my reserve then pretty much on my head at about 900, about just under 1,000 feet, I think it was. So if I just go back. So I'm on my head here, and then I kind of see the ground kind of spanning away from us, and it was quite low. And yeah, I think now that I'm under reserve, I think it's about 800 feet, something like that. But that sucked. So these are perfect examples of why we kind of remind you about this whole tunnel free fall length to skydiving duration, because it can catch you out. I was all good after this, but I lost my reserve handle, which sucked. And when I got down, it's like a perfect tunnel rat question. I landed, and Johnny Tan, I don't know if you know him, but he's like a tunnel instructor from Perth. And I got on the ground, and he was on the jump with me, and he goes, "Hey man," he's like, "what kind of turn did you do then?" I was like, "Why?" And he landed next to me, and I'm like pulling in this reserve canopy that's clearly a different color than my normal main canopy I was jumping all week. He's like, "what kind of turn did you do?" Because I opened up and like stowed my slider, and I looked down, and you were already on the ground. And I was like, Johnny, this isn't my canopy. And he's like, oh, is that a reserve canopy? I was like, oh yeah. So good old tunnel rat question there. But yeah, that's kind of why that's a really good one to remember. Like it can get, it'll get a lot of views out. Like I'm sure people that have done a bit of tunnel can remember a time where they've kind of missed their ditter or something like that. So just keep that one in mind because it's a pretty serious one. A good way to kind of help with that one is definitely get 2 ditters. Anyone that's kind of serious about their free flying, or if you're serious about your skydiving in general, just get 2 ditters. Like you can get a good second-hand one for like $200, and it'll save you a very could save you a lot of time and probably a life at one point as well. Another thing just quickly is like your gear. A lot of people, they learn all this tunnel stuff as they're progressing through their kind of career, and they don't really think too much about their gear. Looking around boogies now that I've been doing, like most people have quite a lot of like decent gear now. There's not too many shit rigs getting around, but things to remember. Yeah, like with premature openings, especially in the free flying game, no rig is basically got a tick of approval that it's meant to hold together during a free fly premi. I think it's about, don't quote me on it, but I think it's about it's basically like a very fast belly speed to slow sit fly is what the containers can handle. They're on the back of all your containers, but there's pretty much none of them are meant to handle any kind of free flying premature opening. So as you're progressing your skills, whether it be skydiving or tunnel, as you start to increase your fall rates, if you start to fly on your head, you're doing really fast angles and all that kind of stuff, and you can kind of handle it. But you also got to remember, can your gear handle it? Because it is one that people usually forget. Things to look out for are the really obvious ones. Like if you're free flying, you really want that BOC to be extremely tight. That's like number one for sure. Container, like you want to have something pretty decent nowadays. The jumps that we're kind of getting people to do now, and a lot of people are starting to do these really fast, high-end jumps. You want a decent container, hey? So if you're spending a lot of money on your tunnel flying, you may as well just put a little bit aside and try and get a decent container. People ask me what's the best container. Like they're all pretty good, but at the moment, the best you can get is probably something fairly new, but not brand new, because our dollar is shit at the moment. So it'll cost you a fortune if you go brand new. So try and find something only a couple of years old, secondhand, and it's just peace of mind. And when you know your gear can handle the stuff you're worrying about, like you're not thinking about that stuff at all. You're concentrating more on the jump and what's going on around you and all that kind of stuff. You're not thinking, fuck, is my pilot chute going to fall out? Because we are honking. So just a couple of the things to remember is your gear. So just try not to forget that one. Big ways. Don't go on big ways if you've just smashed out a heap of tunnel. You haven't done any big ways in a tunnel before. So just do 2 ways to get used to it. Once you've banged out, like as you've progressed through your tunnel, or even your, especially your tunnel, especially now when people are doing like 10 hours in 10 days, just turn it back when you do your jumps again. Don't go jump on a 20 or 30 way or something like that, because it usually doesn't go to plan. But you can't really prepare for big ways in the tube. Just try and take it easy when you do your first couple of jumps back. Next one is aircraft. The aircraft is definitely something different we don't have in a wind tunnel. You've probably heard about the Fiji story. I don't have the video on me. I forgot to ask Mason for it today. But I do have a video though. But I'll just show you a video. I'll share my screen again. So when you're climbing out of the aircraft, the one thing I don't like, and if you've been to a camp or a boogie with me in the last probably year or two, I've probably told it to you. Exit. So this person here in the red and black icon, I see this one so often. See the pilot chute right now is on the door. The pins are going to get rubbed, and you can just see it like as they jump out, like that is just rubbing, and they're both kind of doing it as well. So that kind of stuff, look at that, like even that person there as well, like rubbing against the door. That stuff's really not cool. You can have a premi, you can rip half the plane off, and you'll probably more than likely kill everyone else that's in the plane. So that kind of stuff, it's pretty important. Like that actually even, if you see that, it looks like it's pulled their flap off as well, as you can see just there, that little blue bit. But if you're setting like for an exit, if you're going to set something like this up, I'm not picking on these two. A lot of people do this, but just set it up outside the door. And when you're climbing out, if you're going to be in that person in the grey suit, if you're going to be in their spot, as you're climbing out, look at the prop. So your rig's turned towards the tail and turn out that way. And if you're in the other spot, you want to look at the tail and turn your rig out. Turn your rig out towards the center like that. So your rigs are going to go like that. You're not going to touch any of the outside walls. If you see, like obviously I didn't help them out here, but if you see something like that, just take one for the team and put your hand on the back part of their container. And what it does is it hurts the shit out of your hand. It'll cut your hand for sure, but you're definitely going to save potentially a lot of dramas if something was to go wrong. So just, yeah, stick your hand there, and as they go, just kind of guide it out and then chat to them when you get on the ground. But that one, that's like one of my, like, I used to see it quite a lot. Now it's getting pretty good. The last year's been really good. I've hardly seen it. So when you're climbing out, if you see people, just give them a heads up and just show them, because when there's premies on the doors, they're not good. They look really scary just because they are. And when a plane loses its tail, like there's no glide in a plane, it just goes straight down. So most people are probably still in the plane. They're in big trouble. One more, and then I'll finish about what you shouldn't really be doing. But it's just the jump run. Once you build up your skill, like your own personal, like flying progression, as that gets better and better and better. Just the simple things like on the day, the jump runs and all that kind of stuff. The best way to find out what the jump run is just basically to ask. A lot of people still think it's a bit of a dumb question to ask, but I ask it at my drop zone in Byron quite a lot, just because our weather changes consistently. And Ngambie, like a lot of the faces I'm seeing, a lot of these jump at Ngambie, like their jump run changes quite a lot as well. So it's always good to ask. Ngambie's really good though. They've got like that bus stop thing, but if you don't know what the jump run is and all that kind of stuff, just ask, especially if you've been putting a bit of money in indoor flying. Just because, if you don't know, with all these cool skills you're getting, you will be surprised how fast and how vast you can actually move across the sky, and you will catch up to other groups if you're not really aware of which way the plane's like really dropping them out. So yeah, they're just basically a few of the kind of things to kind of keep in mind as you're progressing through the stages of skydiving and tunnel flying as well. What I might do is, so far, like, is there any questions like that anyone has on what I've just kind of said there? Nothing. Cool. So because I've seen a couple of these webinar things, a lot of people do go very quiet. So Sarah's what kind of event do you want to take a part as what kind of event do you want to take a part as a participant? Take a part, Sarah?
So if you were a participant, and what event would you choose to go to? So if you're just flying, if you were a participant, what event would you like to go to?
100% Funny Farm. If you haven't been, you've got to go to one. But if you can't go to one of them, any of the Down Under Dynamics camps are more than likely the best you can get on. Like the participant to coach ratio is the best I've seen in my career doing this. Like, I think some days I'll have 3 students for a day, like, and it's like that generally the whole camp. So really, really cool to get one on. If you haven't been on that one, hit up Mason runs them, Mason and Keith. They're really good, especially if you're just starting as well. Like, he even allocates like one-on-one, like you can pay a little bit extra and do like one-on-one days with like couple of the coaches, and it's a really, really, really good event. For those that have been, I'm sure like you understand how beneficial that is or was for you guys. So that one's really good. So if you can get on one of them, do it, because they're really, really fun. Number 2, any tips on how to organize a fun jump? Yes. whatever you think you want to do, tone it back 80%. When I first started trying to like make jumps up, they were so hardcore and just so technical. Like I wouldn't even be able to do them today. So definitely, if you're going to organize a bit of a fun jump for say 3 friends, number one is plan it for the weakest flyer. So if there's someone in your group that's probably not one of the best flyers, but you really want to jump with them, plan it for their skill level. Try not to make it too high for them. The other people still enjoy it. They're still going to learn. There's still plenty of stuff for them to learn on that jump as well. But if you're going to organize a jump, plan it for the most basic person. And then other tips as well is work out the stack up orders. So a lot of drop zones are different, and by stack up orders, know where you're meant to be getting out on the jump run. So it really helps the D zone the day. And if you're organizing a jump, you should look into that. So the general rule of thumb is it goes groups biggest to smallest, and with the disciplines in this order usually is flat, free fly, angles first, flat, free fly, and then like your wingsuiting and your tandems and all that kind of stuff after that. There are a lot of drop zones that kind of prefer different methods. They have their own style of way, so just let them do it. But that's generally like the way you should do it. And by biggest to smallest, I mean if there's like 2 flat groups, then yeah, like the 8-way and then the 4-way would go second. So biggest to smallest, just for the drift and all that kind of stuff. There is quite a lot of stuff when organizing a jump, but usually if you've got them 2 ones, don't make it too hectic. Allocate it for the most basic person, and just kind of know where you're meant to be getting out on the jump run. They're usually like the best tips if you're going to start organizing a jump for you and your friends. Number 3, your first coaching experience in the sky. How did you feel? Me personally, I was shit scared. My first coaching event was probably the biggest one of my career still. It was the Funny Farm 2015. And that was scary shit. I'd never coached before, and I went to Funny Farm with like some of the best flyers in the country, and that one was really scary, but it was awesome. I had the time of my life, so that was really fun. The best event to be an LO at? Rail Week. Rail Week's sick. Just because they have a day off in the middle, so everyone kind of jumps hard, and then everyone parties in the middle, and then everyone jumps hard after the day off, and then we have a party at the end. So it's a really good structure. You haven't kind of got some people partying at the start and some people jumping at the start, and then everyone mixing up and everyone's on the same wavelength. It's like jump, then party, then jump, then party. So it's really, really good. If you're an LO and you haven't coached at Rail Week, that's one for the books for sure. How to get max out of a small tunnel? Max benefits, I'm assuming, out of a small tunnel. Guys, go to a bigger tunnel. Like they're like 14 foots are definitely ideal. I know I work in a 12 foot, but if you have the money and you can travel just a little bit extra, go to a 14 footer. They are highly beneficial for that extra small price. Like there's a small price increase, especially if you can get like on some of those good deals, but anything from like a 14 to a 16 is it's just easier. Like people pick it up quicker, I'll admit. But yeah, if you can get on those in those bigger tubes, for sure. But if you're in a small one, there's still plenty of stuff you can learn. But it's just for a couple extra $100, it pays off. Tips for tunnel coaches learning in the sky. Jump more. Don't just go straight to coaching. Go do some jumps. If you've done too much tunnel like me, and you'll fuck it up and go low like that video I just showed at the start of this chat, that would be that one. I'll do one more question and then I'll open it back up to you guys. I'll stop talking for a bit. Scariest incident in skydiving and what I have learned from it. Probably that low one was pretty bad, but the scariest incident I've seen in skydiving was probably the Fiji, the guy that climbed out when I was talking before about how the people were climbing out with their rigs kind of bumping. In Fiji, it was there was 2 people and they were climbing out, and they actually climbed out the correct way, but something I didn't cover before. When you're climbing out, you're meant to go like one person out, and then the next person out, and then the next person out, and then the next person out. These two guys just unfortunately just went like together at the same time, and their rigs kind of backed into each other. Popped one of the pins on one of the young bloke's rigs, and I thought this is impossible, and I swear you couldn't do it again. It's a 1 in a million fluke. But as his pins popped, it's pulled his canopy out while he's still hanging onto the door. And as it's pulled him, usually what happens is it pulls you and you go through the tail and you'll tear the tail off, and it usually kills you. This dude was so lucky. He got pulled and he went, so if this is the back tail of it was a caravan, super caravan. And as he got taken off the door, he went over the tail, where the caravan's tail is super high, so it like nearly looks impossible to get over it. As he went over it, his back just kind of like rubbed the top of the door, the top of the wing. And then what usually happens after that, if you're so lucky enough to go over that, your gear gets tangled around the wing, the back tail of the plane, and tears it off anyway. But man, this kid was just so lucky. He's on the back of a tail, if you can imagine the plane on the tail, how it has the part that moves where the pilot's like controlling the back of the tail. His gear was so lucky, it went through the tiny little gap between that winch that moves and managed to cut the bridle. And so no gear snagged onto the plane, and everything pretty much got over it. Like when he got over it, it cut there. So all that was left on the tail was just like a D-bag and a few of his lines. But that, you couldn't do it again if you tried. That was probably the scariest thing I've seen. And that had a full plane of people inside it as well.
Dimmer said he has the video.
Does he?
Yeah, I have video. And actually, I met this guy recently at Gyro Boogie. He was there. He was like sitting next to me. And
Elliot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got the video on your computer now?
Yeah, I have the video. Actually, I can show you. Yeah,
have you got the inside footage or the outside footage?
I have both.
Cool. Yeah, play that. Can you get him up on the front screen?
Yeah. How can I share a video, Jason?
It says share.
Yeah, share screen. Yeah.
Yeah, share screen, but you might all have to kind of find Dimitri.
Yeah. I see. Open preferences, zoom up.
Not sure if it'll just come up. I like Soren trying to pretend that he's hanging out at the drop zone.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Like in jumping gears on.
Yeah, he told me that he was like sitting next to me and like, hey mate, like, do you remember me? I was like, no, not really. Like he was like, oh, it was me, like you know, like having Premi on exit. I was like, oh, hey mate, you almost killed me. So nice. Yeah, I was inside this plane. Yeah. So yep, here we go. Can you see it? No?
Yeah.
Yep, sweet. Yeah. So that's his view.
Yeah, this is his view. Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, and we can play it a little bit slower.
If you can freeze frame it and just click pause.
Yeah.
His legs are going over the tail. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. So right there, you can see his D-bag and bridle kind of wrapped around there, and it was so lucky that it got snapped off.
Yeah. And after this, that's it.
Yeah.
And outside view. It
happens that quick on the outside view. You probably won't even see it. He's there and he's just gone.
Yeah. And if we can pause it again.
Yeah, because he goes pretty quick, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that one's pretty hectic.
Stop it.
That was probably the scariest one I reckon I've kind of. Little things to keep in mind, and if you do the little things right, then the jumps are way more fun. I'll open up to you guys. Does anyone have any questions so far on anything? Nope. Okay. Cool.
No.
Huh?
No. Sorry.
Riley.
I know. I'm just like, just keep talking, Boags.
So another thing as well, guys, with this kind of the whole progression thing of flying, it takes a lot of time. Something I've noticed in the last maybe 5 years is like everyone's really hungry to learn and get good really quick, which is really good. What people that are actually really good flyers now will tell you, it takes a lot of time, unless you're a couple of those very few gifted people that are just really good at everything. I've only met a couple of them in my life, but if you're one of them, well, fuck you. But like for everyone else, it's basically, it takes a lot of time. And within the last 5 years, like I was chatting to a guy once and he told me this thing that he thought, and I fully agree with him. We're kind of growing up in this kind of society now where everything's really happening quite quick. Like you can get information like at the click of a button. You can get food delivered within like 10 minutes. Like we're all kind of used to this society now where everything kind of happens really quick. And they see like a wind tunnel or they see like a jump package or something like that, and they think, cool, I'll do that. And then like I'm ready for like the coolest jumps ever. And it really takes a long time. Like flying, like top level flying is very hard. You do, if you are really serious about it and you want to kind of progress quite quickly, you do need to dedicate a lot of time and usually a lot of money too, to kind of get to that thing. I've met people that have come to me at the tunnel in a day and expecting to be like a ninja after a day, just because they don't know. Which is fine. We all see these videos of tunnel flyers and really cool skydivers, and you think, oh, I'll just go to the tunnel and I'll do that. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication. Everyone that's kind of gotten to a decent level of flying has their own kind of cool story. Mine was I was on mee goreng noodles, those real cheap packets of noodles. They basically funded my progression through skydiving. That's all I ate for years. Very bad. My lips even started like cracking shit. It was that bad for me. But you need to like dedicate a lot of time and effort. Like you need to save up a bit of money as well, and it doesn't happen overnight. But the best kind of way to kind of do it is to try and enjoy it. And it sounds kind of corny, but you just kind of need to enjoy it as much as you can. If you do enjoy it, you will pick it up way quicker than others, and that's not just me saying it. I've noticed that in many circumstances. Like if you enjoy it, you'll be more hungry to get back on the plane again. You'll be more hungry to finish a tunnel camp, come home, and then sell something else and find yourself another tunnel camp, or go buy a jump package, or go do something because you want to do it. If you're getting down from jumps going like, oh fuck, like I didn't get that head up dock, or I didn't get close enough to that formation or something. If you're kind of picking on the things that you're not getting, you will kind of find yourself not liking it as much and not finding it more appetizing to go do more and more of it. So it does sound kind of like a hippie thing, but you do need to kind of cheer up and really enjoy it, because skydiving is awesome fun and it should be. But a lot of people I noticed, like they're not used to it at the start of how like much time and dedication you really need to put in to kind of get a lot out of it. But also as well, they do progress quite quickly. But the sport is also progressing quite a lot as well. And they kind of get to this point, and then skydiving's kind of evolved a bit more, and they're like, fuck, and they're consistently chasing this dream thing where you're always going to be chasing something. I'm still working on a ton of different things, but you shouldn't really let it get you down. You should really think there's no real pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The pot of gold is the rainbow, and it is like the kind of the journey that you're doing through skydiving, because it is really fun. Like someone, for example, is perfect example is Sarah. When I first met Sarah, she was literally like a grenade in the tunnel. It was hilarious. Like if you haven't seen her videos, please link it after this, Sarah, because she made these edits out of her flying from the start to where she's kind of at now. And like, yeah, she was one of the funniest students ever. Like, she'd enjoy every second of it, but man, it was like hell in there sometimes. It was so funny. She was actually the first ever only student that told me no. Like, every time I'd tell someone to do something, they'd give it a try, they'd do it. And sometimes Sarah'd just be like, "No, I'm not doing that." I'm like, never really had that one before. But yeah, she enjoyed the whole lot, and her flying has improved tenfold after so many. How many years? Like, when we did the tunnel camp in the Gold Coast, Sarah, how many years ago was that? That wasn't too long ago, was it?
Maybe 3.
What?
3?
3 years ago, is that it?
I think 3.
Yeah, perfect. So from 3 years ago to where you're at now, like, that's a huge step, like what you've taken, and it only took like 3 years. And if you ask her now, like, did you have to put a bit of time aside? She'd more than likely say yes, but at the same time, she definitely enjoyed it, and mainly because she was enjoying herself the whole way through it, and she just wanted to keep flying after it. Like, it was hilarious. But yeah, I think I did about 15 hours with you or so, Sarah.
17.
17.
Oh, maybe 15 to 17 because Timmy took over some
Yeah.
when you were busy. But yeah, about 15 to 17 hours.
How much time did you do in that 3 years?
I have about 24 hours now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You really start to see, like, most people really, like, it's a noticeable change when people are around that 20-hour mark. It costs a lot of money as well, guys. Like, you can't just go book 20 hours tomorrow. But like, if you're wondering, like, people usually ask me that question, like, when will I be doing this, or when will I be doing this? Everyone does pick it up at different rates. Like, some people pick it up really quick. Some people will take a long time to learn, like, some of the simplest things, and then they'll get the harder stuff really quick as well. So everyone is usually different, but I usually say after 20 hours, you've got a decent level of skill that you can kind of show off. So if you are going to set yourself like a bit of a goal, just 20 hours over 5 years or something, like, set yourself something like really like outspanned like that. As you do it, a lot of you guys are from Melbourne. I'm seeing here, and you guys have a new tunnel there. A question that a lot of people ask me is, should I fly? I've had a tunnel just open near me, and should I fly like 10 minutes a week and stay consistent, or should I just cram it all in a few weeks and bang it out like that? From my experience, they both work, but I do find people that bang out these smaller amounts, the amount of time in a shorter period of time, usually notice it and pick it up quicker. Within reason, I'm not saying go to a tunnel and do 10 hours in one day. Like this really nice guy, what was his name? He's from Melbourne. His name was Charlie. This bloke I met at Barwon, and he'd never been to a tunnel before. And I'd met him, and he was going to the States to go do an hour and 45 minutes a day, I think it was, or something ridiculous for 9 days straight. And I said to him, I was like, man, that's a lot of time. And when I met him again after it, he said, yeah, it was way too much. So whenever you are kind of going on to the tunnel camps that you see all your friends kind of getting on, do try and cram as much time in this camp as you can, but managing your fatigue as your number one priority. People, if you're tired in the tunnel, you are not going to learn anything. It's as simple as that. For me, like, when I do my kind of my larger camps over in Poland and that, we're flying from like an hour a day, sometimes a bit more. And for me, like, number one is the flyers' fatigue is intact, and then number two is like, all right, teaching cool shit. But yeah, as soon as they're tired, like the simplest of things of like flying forward and backward on your belly, they can't even do that after an hour. Like, they're just so tired. So manage yourself with your fatigue. If you're wondering what is your limit, I usually say to people, do 15-minute blocks and work it out off that. If you can do 2 15-minute blocks a day and you get out from that and you're feeling good, cool, try 3. If you're doing 3 and you're finding you're getting yourself really tired on that third one, maybe just do the 2. Or focus more on your dynamic flying rather than your static flying. For people that don't understand that, your dynamic is like your back to belly kind of carving layouts, all that, basically everything like wingsuiters do, like all that kind of stuff, like anything that's like belly back carving, all that kind of stuff. as opposed to static. So anything you can't do in a wingsuit, basically like sit flying and all that kind of stuff. Cause that does really take its toll on the body, like you'll drain the tank way quicker doing your static stuff in a tube more or less than doing the dynamic stuff. So yeah, like, if you want to set yourself a goal, 20 hours, 5 years is usually like pretty cool. It's a long time, but yeah, and see kind of, and save your videos like Sarah did, because they're really funny to kind of look back on, especially the blooper ones that you make. They're really, really cool. Does anyone have any questions about that stuff? Nope.
Hey, Boags. We had a question.
Yep. Oh, hey.
How you going?
Good.
What do you think in terms of your opinion? Do you think it's better to learn a new skill in the sky or in the tunnel?
Depends what it is. Don't learn angles in the tunnel because that'll hurt. But it's like you like if you're trying to learn to sit fly, for example, that's a very common one for a lot of skydivers. If you're trying to learn that, get the foundations in the tunnel. It's quicker. It's really quicker and easier. To be honest, like when I go on skydives with people learning to sit fly that have no foundations for it, like they've just done like 100 or 200 belly jumps and they just want to go try sit. Generally, like I'm just doing my best to film them, just because they're moving around the sky so much. You will get it, but it really benefits you, even if you just do a little bit of the fundamental stuff, just to get the idea of the feel of what it's like to have wind kind of on the higher parts of your back and underneath your legs, and it's just a whole different orientation. And you're in a controlled environment that's got a video camera right on you the whole time with someone that's literally in front of you telling you what to do. Like it is a lot easier that way. And when I started, I did it that way. I went out and did, we didn't have tunnels in the country when I learned, but I did, in 1 year, I did 16 hours in Singapore. It was, first trip was 6 hours, second trip was 6 hours, and the third trip was 4 hours. And I did all that in 1 year. And I just wanted to my goal was to kind of get comfortable in kind of all orientations so I could keep up with pretty much most of the jumps that were happening around the time I was jumping. And it worked. Like, I put a lot of money into it. People think I've been flying for free my whole career, but that's definitely not right. I think I spent around 45,000 on flights, accommodation, tunnel and coaching. Back then, tunnels were way more expensive than they are today. Singapore was $2,200 an hour coached, which is just absurd. Like now, like if someone was doing a camp there, you'd laugh at them. But that's what it cost back then, and that's what you kind of had to do to kind of keep up. But I wanted to do it all in the tunnel just so I could kind of have a basic foundation and then put that into the sky. And the funny thing was, like, if you're trying to learn angles, for me, I sucked at back angles. I could never do back angles. I even flew to Europe to go to an angles camp just to learn how to back fly on angles. And I did 52 jumps in 2 weeks, all on my back, and I was never near anyone. I couldn't get close. I never even got to the leader once. Like, I sucked. But I kept trying, never got it. And then went to the tunnel for my 6 hours after that trip, and then went home from that whole trip, and then I could do back angles, and I have no idea why. Like, later on, working out that head down is very much a lot similar to the back carving and back angles. So if you're like me and you really suck at back angles, try and get some head down foundations in the tunnel, because it will translate quite easily for you. But yeah, thinking back, if I kind of went to the tunnel first and then did the 50 jumps, it would have been probably better. But yeah, fuck that one up. Yeah. I actually went to Italy, and I didn't know much about geography at the time. And I didn't even know that Italy was in this, I didn't even know what Europe was, basically. And I was at the train station in Rome, and someone walked past me looking for the platform to go to Amsterdam. And I said to my friends, I was like, are we near Amsterdam? And he's like, man, we're in Europe. And then I looked at a map and was like, oh shit, there's like everything here. This is actually really cool. But yeah, I didn't really know much back then, obviously. Yeah. Does that kind of answer your question? Like, you can still kind of
yeah, definitely.
yeah, you can still kind of stick to skydiving if that's what you really love and really what you want to do, then for sure. But you're going to get it quicker if you just kind of do a couple of sessions just on the foundations of it and just to get the
definitely. Yeah.
Does anyone else have another question on that one?
I have one from Alex. What's the best timing to start freestyle, and who can coach freestyle in Australia?
To start freestyle. Freestyle is definitely one of the newer kind of disciplines coming through for Australian kind of free fly, I think. When should you start? You can start tomorrow. You don't need to be an absolute shredder. If you can kind of belly and back fly, there's a lot of freestyle moves that involve a lot of belly and a lot of back flying. But yeah, you can start tomorrow for sure. There's quite a lot to it. But coaches, which one's Alex? Where's Alex from?
Alex is from France.
France. Wow.
But she's from Melbourne. She lives in Melbourne. She's from France. Yeah.
Okay. Good freestyle coaches. I haven't been to the Melbourne tunnel yet. I was meant to be there yesterday or today, before the whole virus thing hit. But good coaches for freestyle in Australia at the moment. They're probably more or less at Sydney. Donnie's really good. If you haven't heard of Donnie, her name's Donnie Gales. She's been there not too long, a couple of years, but she is absolutely ripping. She knows quite a lot about it. Elise Brown is another girl. She is ripping at it as well. They're two very, very geez, I fully lost my train of thought then. They're very determined as far as that discipline goes, and they'll definitely have a lot to kind of give you in that stuff. So there's Elise, there's Donnie. Jimmy Cooper as well is one of the probably best flyers in the country. And he's another one at Sydney again. And his flying style is absolutely amazing. So those three are really good. They'd probably be my picks. So if you're around New South Wales, they'd probably be your ideal ones. If you're from Perth, Dane Baird is an absolute weapon of a coach. He's more of a dynamic flyer, but his style is just so graceful. He's one of the flyers I could literally sit there and watch all day. He's really, really good. So over there, and also you've got the Brazier boys and Sam Millington. They're also very good. They've got a lot of knowledge to share as well. Like I said, I haven't really been to the Melbourne tunnel yet, so I'm not really sure what the level's like there, but I'm sure they'll have something for everyone. But as far as that kind of stuff goes, they would be my picks. Another question for anyone? Don't be shy. Everyone's being shy.
Hey, Boagsy, I've got a question.
Is that you, Bullivan?
It is. I'm here. Hey, so tunnel speeds and transitioning to the sky. Is it easier to transition stuff that you learn, head up, head down sort of stuff at a higher speed in the tunnel into the sky, being that you go at full drive up there?
So as far as comparing speeds from tunnel to sky, even if it may seem fast when you're in the tunnel, you are flying quite slow. When someone goes from the tunnel to the sky, they are generally flying really slow. You'll usually see, for someone that's in a head down position, their arms are going to be quite nearly horizontal like this, where a lot of comfortable skydivers are right near their knees. We do fly a lot faster in the sky. And we usually teach it in the tunnel. It's like a habit for the flyer, but we usually teach it at a safer speed. If you're learning something new, you don't want to be upside down at fucking topped out speeds and smashing walls and killing yourself. But yeah, generally when you when you're going from the tunnel to the sky, try and keep the speed on, because your body will fly quite slow at the start. So keep thinking speed. Speed is definitely your friend when you take it to the sky. Like that. So does that kind of answer your question for that one?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely.
Translating that stuff from tunnel to sky as well, anything head down related for people that have already done it, there's not too much of a difference that you'll notice when going from like a head down position from the tunnel to the sky. It's all quite the same, even with the rig on your back. From the most probably conflicting one is the head up position or the sit flying. When people go from a sitting position in the tunnel to the sky, they've got that whole extra rig exposed to the relative wind, and for some people they usually find it quite tricky. But if you have a fairly good sit fly in the tube, well then you'll usually translate it over pretty quickly. But if you are on one of those tunnel camps where you've picked up a new skill like that, get it in the sky as quick as you can, because if you don't, you will start developing bad habits, and that's kind of the whole reason why you're paying this money to get good. So try and get in the sky as quickly as you can, especially for them people that have banged out a fair chunk of hours in a short period of time, and get that stuff in the sky as quick as you can. Trent, lucky I fly head down the tunnel at full speed, at least here in Melbourne. Nice. That's good. Keep it fast, bro. But yeah, when you go to the sky, you'll find you're a bit of a faster flyer, but like still keep the speed on, dude. Like you've got way more, you can go way faster. And especially if you're jumping with people with similar fall rates, like play with that kind of stuff, like get used to flying faster, like just playing with your levels. Like even if one just goes cool faster and the next one comes down like that and slower like that, get used to it and kind of notice what kind of window you've got as far as like controlling your vertical speed goes, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as a general rule of thumb, when people, like you can see it, like when we jump with people, like you'll see someone flying and they're just holding this like textbook tunnel position. You're like, wow, they're fresh out of the tube. Put some speed on, like get your arms down is usually like the easiest solution. So if you've got that textbook, I can't get my arms out, but if you've got your textbook arms like this for in the tunnel, try and just relax your elbows down and try and keep that speed on, or even just relax your legs a little bit. So if you've got them like rock solid daffy legs, try and get them a little bit like more like that, just to kind of get the speed on, because that's what you want. Saying that, don't go jump with like a 45 kilo kid and put the speed on like that, because yeah, don't do that. Next one. Anyone got one?
I might throw another one in, Boags. Huck jams, beneficial or sometimes worse off for you? Like I flew in the Brizzy one and they topped it out head up, and felt pretty fast, but I felt like I progressed pretty quick.
Huck jams, for those that don't know, Jace, a huck jam is basically.
I feel like you're picking on me.
No, man, no, I'm just I'm sure there's other people out there that haven't flown much tunnel as well, but people that don't know what a huck jam is, it's basically like the cheapest way you can fly. It's like you pay a small amount of money, they turn the wind on, and everyone just fucking piles in, basically. But good tips for huck jams, if you're going to go to a huck jam night, talk to people, pick a if you're like want to just mainly sit fly, find a bunch of people that are just going to sit fly. If you're just going to belly fly, find a bunch of people that are just going to kind of belly fly. Don't be that guy where the speed is absolutely humming and you jump in and you can't handle the speed. It is definitely beneficial for you because you've got these kind of other people around. There's a bit of chaos going on. Like there's some people zooming around a little bit. And if you can kind of control yourself and you worry about yourself but observe everyone else and kind of keep yourself kind of safe, that stuff is really beneficial. And you do kind of pick stuff up quickly. Like if you come out from a huck jam without any bruise or stuff, you're doing pretty good. But your awareness usually picks up more than anything, because when 6 of you jump in the tube, there's usually one that shouldn't be in there. And if you can handle yourself with someone kind of fucking zipping around like crazy, it's a good kind of thing for yourself to kind of go, hey, like I can handle myself when this guy's kind of a bit loose. And for next time, I'd probably not go in with that person, or I'd probably just keep my distance from that person, or maybe just tell them to get out. But that kind of stuff is definitely beneficial. It just like more or less on your awareness, you start to notice more shit going on around you. And I've just realized I just got a text off Telstra that I didn't have my Wi-Fi on, so I just went well over my gigabytes.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's okay. I don't care.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because I'm like 55 kilos, I've fly kind of, I guess, slow as well. What recommendations do you have for people that are either like smaller females that do have to fly faster, or bigger males that have to learn how to fly slower?
Yep, really good question. So dress for success is like the saying there. I usually try and tell people like this: you've got this kind of like, you've got this window, okay? And basically you're going to have like on this chart, you're going to have your own little window on this kind of scale. Now at this end is your high speed, really fast, bigger guys, all that kind of fast stuff. Down this end is the really light girls that fly slow with their baggy suits or whatever. You kind of want to be somewhere with your little box, like this is you moving up and down the scale. You kind of want to be somewhere near the middle. Now, if you are, for example, that really light girl that's on this end of the scale, and you are right at the slower end and you want to kind of creep it up towards the center, dress for success. So wear some tight clothes, like get a tight suit. It definitely helps, because one thing you are not going to need to do on a jump when you're down at this end of the scale is to slow down. You don't need to slow down. So you can help that out with, obviously you can train yourself to fly faster at faster wind speeds and all that kind of stuff. But the simplest way is just to dress more appropriately. So put on a tighter suit, and that will creep you up somewhere around this mark. So you can still fly slower if you need to, or you've got that suit and you can probably go a little bit faster as well. So it kind of gets you towards that center of the thing. If you're a very big guy and you fall fast all the time and you don't ever get down from a jump saying, fuck, I need to go faster, so you're somewhere up here, wear a bit of drag. Put some jeans on or something. You'll be surprised how the smallest bit of like flappy material slows you down. It's like working in the industry now for like 10 years, like I've noticed like drag is so important. Like a perfect example is when I did the 2000 and I think it was the head down record was in 2018 or 17. I hadn't really done many big ways, and I just asked the guy, like the coach guy, is an American dude, and he was doing this little talk before, and I said, man, how fast do these head down jumps go? And he just said it's all about speed. He's like, you want to go as fast as you fucking can. So I was like, oh, okay. So I put on my DNA shorty suit, and that's like one of the quickest suits you can probably get. And I jumped out for this record jump, and I was I've come flying down, and I was flying so quick as the formation built. As you know from the early days, like when formations get bigger and bigger, they actually fly a lot slower. And when I was on the outside of this formation, I was meant to be the last one getting on, and I was like in the most slowest head down position of my life to get on this jump. And it like I even like hovered in like a fucking old grandma trying to get in on this formation, because I was just on the cusp of just sinking straight through it, because the suit was just too quick. After I put a pair of jeans on, it was fine. But definitely dress for success. Look at the people in your jump, like look at that little skinny girl in a baggy suit and just go, fuck, no one's going to be able to be near her. So maybe let's put something tight on her. With a bigger dude, like,
Just me, or did he just run out of data?
No, I think he just ran out of data.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
Wi-Fi.
Hi, Jason, Chloe. Miss you guys.
I really like that background you got. It feels like you're at a drop zone.
Well, it's also, it was, you remember that day at Skyfest we had a shutdown, we're doing yoga?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, we're here, but we can't fly kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Is that what happens when you run out of data? Your screen just shuts off.
Well, probably.
It looks like it.
Oh,
Hi,
Hulk.
Jimmy.
Hi, Timmy. Hi,
Oh.
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, guys.
Oh, I miss you.
Hey.
Sarah,
Hey, Tom.
we got half entertainment.
Oh,
Oh.
so cute. Love the pictures, by the way. This is
So cute. Hi, Hulk.
oh, fuck.
Yeah,
What? Are you guys talking about me?
Hulk.
the dog.
Oh, it's so cute.
Are you good now, Boags?
I'm sort of back. Yeah, the air kind of. But yeah, I was just summing up. Yeah, just get yourself in that center thing, and then train yourself for what you're kind of not they're at. So like for Sarah's example, get your right suit on and then start just training faster stuff, and that'll make you more and more comfortable like that. But yeah, really cool. Nice dog, by the way.
Super cute.
Cool. Was there any more questions on that, guys? That it, Sarah?
Yeah, that was good.
That was good.
You did well.
Too long? How long do these things usually go for?
So no, I think Dave's went for an hour.
Yeah.
And AK's went for like 2.5 hours, but we talked a lot about non-related skydiving things and into Corona and into how many planes are still circling, and we went off track. Yeah. So this was an hour is about the right time that most of the webinars, like we're doing about half an hour of people, 20 minutes, half an hour of people just giving a presentation or talking, and then the other half an hour is answering questions and things like that. What is the questions that I've put to them. So you did well.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks again, guys. If anyone ever has any questions, like I'm usually pretty good with the phone. Stick us a message if you've got anything about like skydiving questions or tunnels or tunnel camps if you want to go learn some shit. Flick us a message on Facebook, and yeah, once this whole fucking virus lifts and we can start getting back to work, we'll hopefully get back in there. But yeah, see what happens.
Yeah. Any idea when we're back online? Anyone?
As far as tunnel flying goes?
Tunnel or skydiving or anything fun?
I don't know, man. Like, if I was like the Prime Minister, like I reckon skydiving would be at the bottom of his list, but I'm hoping it falls under some other category of sporting, because if it does, then the Olympics is going to kind of help that kind of kickstart it up. So hopefully we fall under something like that. Like if they say any kind of outdoor sporting to help the Olympic people train again, skydiving could fall into that one, and hopefully we get into it. But time will tell.
Yeah, I think you're going to wait for when they lift recreational activities and things like that in sports. That's when we'll start being able to do it, because at the moment we're falling within that banner.
Yeah. So something like that. But yeah, I've never been more hungry to go skydiving, I don't think. And I just got my reserve repack too. So how good's that? Just before the shit hit the fan, I was like, yeah. So yeah. Is everyone else sacked like me, or are people still working?
I'm
working.
No, we're still working.
Are you still working?
They're working. Did you say you're sacked, Trent?
No, I'm working.
Oh, good.
Nah,
No.
I'm over here. Can you guys hear me, Jared?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got sacked from Bowen Heads. I ended up having to fly home to New Zealand after all this crap.
Oh no.
Oh, so you're on full lockdown.
I'm on full lockdown, man. I'm 2 weeks in.
Oh.
Nah, it's all good. Keeping myself busy.
That's good.
What were you trying to build earlier? Or look?
You guys might have seen that I play Warhammer, so I've got some little wee models that I'm painting.
I was trying to work out what it was.
Boagsy, Java's just had a question. Thoughts on speed skydiving? What's involved and how's it different from head down?
There's quite a few bits to it. If you have like a lot of questions and you're looking to get to it, 100% chat to the guy who's the best at it. That's Shane Turner. He's for sure the man like kind of leading the way in that discipline. But basically go as fast as you fucking can. Number one thing for that thing is see your rigger and get your rig kind of fitted out first. You probably want to have a throwaway pilot chute as opposed to the BOC, just for that extra snugness. You want to also like even put masking tape around your risers so your risers don't come off. You want to do a lot of stuff to your rig first. Secondly is you want to start testing it out in the sky. So do solo jumps for sure. I'm not trying to spono Dakuna here, but get one of those Dakunas and see if you are actually moving across the sky when you're training. If you are moving, take a step back, learn how to fly vertical, and then start to pin it. But for sure, like once you found yourself, you can actually hold that vertical axis really good. pin it, check your speeds. That same device will read all your speeds and stuff as well. But if you want to get like into serious like competition about it, Shane Turner for sure is the man to kind of help you in that one. I haven't done any of it yet. It looks like a bit of fun, but yeah.
We've also got Ash Crick local.
Ash Crick, yeah. Sorry, yeah, he's from Melbourne. Yeah, hit him up. He's really good, and yeah, he's perfect for you guys as well. But yeah, make sure you're flying vertical because if you zoom around the sky, it's like wow, scary. All good. All right, I might go have another beer then. Is that it for everyone? Is everyone happy with that?
That was good.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you, Boags. It was very professional.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Cool.
Boagsy.
Seeing you all soon.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for attending.
Thanks for
Thanks,
organising,
Sarah.
Sarah.
You're a legend.